This link must have been everywhere.
Okay, Dr. Ihli. Now it's I have 8 o'clock on my side, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So first of all, welcome everyone to our Tuesday night product call. First of all, thank you very much. We have we have 500 participants tonight, so it's going to be a great call. A lot of people excited to listen to this new exciting topic. Tonight, we're very privileged to have Dr. Nancy Ihli with us. Dr. Ihli has extensive nutrition research experience and is a member of our Nutrimetrics clinical faculty, as well as a TLS and Nutrimetrics trainer. So tonight, the topic that we are going to be learning and Dr. Ihli will be sharing is called Achieving and Maintaining Wellness. So without taking any more time, Dr. Ihli, is all yours.
Thank you very much for the invitation, you guys. I appreciate you inviting me. Obviously, when this invitation was made, it was a few weeks ago, and we did not have all the excitement that is happening today. So hang on one second. I have a little trouble with the slide. There we go. Somebody's drawing on my screen there, you guys. So I'm Nancy Miller-Ihli, and I served as USDA's National Program Leader for Nutrition for the United States. So in that capacity, I was responsible for nutrition policy and nutrition research. My experience is working in a laboratory as a scientist, and I did research related to absorption and bioavailability. I also had the opportunity to interact, for example, with Congress and with the White House, serving as a liaison and answering questions when there were crises or questions regarding whatever related to nutrition. My current focus is nutritional consulting, and I'm a certified TLS weight loss solution coach and trainer. I'm part of the Nutrimetrics clinical faculty, so I'm also Nutrimetrics health professional, and I've had a lot of experience with both TLS and Nutrimetrics trainings with the company. I love to train, and I'm always very clear when I talk about nutritional support products that the statements that I'm presenting have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration, and these products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. So the goals this evening, I'm going to talk about, laying a foundation for health. And I'm going to, in our company, we have something we call the Basic Five. And I'm going to talk about that in the capacity of, how do we lay a foundation with 5 basic products. But then I'm going to move into talking in themes. And with everything that's going on right now in the country, I know people are interested in supporting immune health. So I'm going to talk about that, how you can do it both from a supplementation perspective as well as lifestyle choices, focusing on stress management and the importance of sleep. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about some nutrition in the news with recent research as it's related to the COVID-19. I am not an expert on COVID-19. I've already shown you the slide that says these products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. So please, as we move into the question phase at the end, I'm not, please don't ask me questions about that because that's not my area of expertise. But I am very comfortable talking to you about improving and supporting good immune health and laying a great foundation for your health. So when we look at, this graph, it's about focusing on the nutritional status of Americans. So let's look at the number of Americans that get the recommended number of vegetables. So on the right is the blue side. So less than 10% of Americans are getting the recommended intake for vegetables. And 90% are not. Look at fruits. Roughly 25% are getting what they need. 75% are not. Even grains, not even, just roughly 50% of people are getting that. And the rest are not. And we go right on down the list. Look at the protein numbers, you guys. Less than 60% of people are getting the protein that they need, which means that 40% are not. And that's one of the things that we focus on with our TLS Healthy Lifestyle program. People are not even getting the healthy oils they need, the omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory in their diet. And look at the sugar. Like 75% of people are getting, way too much sugar. And people are getting too much saturated fat and also too much sodium. So I think we can probably agree that the standard American diet is kind of a sad diet. It's high in saturated fats, it's got these partially hydrogenated oils, it's high in refined carbs, and also processed foods. So the dietary guidelines for Americans is something that's put out by NHANES, which is the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. And these are the most recent data. They were summarized in 2015. We'll be due for an update at the end of this year again. But look at the number of people that are not getting enough vitamin D. Vitamin D is so critically important for your immune health. And we know that not only do people not get it in their diet, but then in addition, people are putting on sunscreen or Jergens lotion or other things that have SPF in it so that they're not able to produce the vitamin D that they need to. We make it, our bodies make it when we're exposed to what they call UVB, which is just a particular range of light, of frequency of sunlight that's necessary. And you just need to have your face and arms exposed for like 15 to 20 minutes, several days a week. 5 or 6 days a week will be plenty. But unfortunately, with all the precautionary things and concerns with skin cancer, we have a lot of protective gear that we wear or protective SPF in our products. So people just don't get it. And that's going to be a theme as we move into talking about immunity. The vitamin D is a particular issue. You can see that magnesium is also a problem. Less than 50% of people are getting adequate magnesium intake. And then calcium, we're the #1 country for osteoporosis and osteopenia, which is crazy. And even vitamin C, and you're going to see that that's an issue when it comes to immunity. So not everybody's getting the recommended intake. Now, there's other things that we have to be concerned about besides just those micronutrients that I was showing you. And when we talk about these things, these are what we call essential nutrients. They're things which your body can't make, so they have to take them in through diet. Vitamin D is one of the things that our bodies actually help to manufacture, but still people are getting it from dietary sources. Look at the dietary fiber here. Less than 5% of people in America will hit the intake, the targeted intake for adequate intake for fiber. And the USDA recommends 25 to 35 grams per day. Why would that be of interest right now? Well, I don't have time to go into all the details with regard to, the impact or the role of detoxification. But if you don't have good fiber, then you're not going to be removing toxins from your system if you are exposed to toxins. So the fiber thing really is important, and it's something that people will want to learn more about. So we know that in addition to not getting everything we need from our diet, we also know that unfortunately, we have some things that deplete our nutrients. For example, we have medications that deplete our nutrients. We've got, everything from antacids, which are gonna impact us, and they'll be blocking our iron absorption. We've got, statin drugs, which block the production of coenzyme Q10. And, CoQ10 is a potent antioxidant, is really your friend. It's kind of the spark plug for every cell. And it's a great thing for you to have on board, particularly during cold and flu season. Intestinal flora are important. They're showing there that if you take an antibiotic, that's going to help, to offset or cause an imbalance in your gut. So we'd want to offset that by taking a probiotic, certainly not exactly at the same time because it would just kill it, but separated by several hours. We know that, a lot of people are taking birth control pills. That depletes B vitamins. We know that people are taking antidepressants, and those deplete any number of nutrients, including B12, and also zinc and selenium. So we're not saying that some people should not take medications. I'm not saying that at all. I want to be really clear about that. What I'm saying is that some medications do cause micronutrient deficiencies or insufficiencies. And so for that reason, people would want to read those circulars that come with the medications with the 2-point font, right? So then we've got sodas. You guys know that sodas contain phosphoric acid. That's going to leach calcium from your teeth and from your bones. Alcohol, I know that I've recognized a couple names on the webinar here tonight. I know that some people like to have the occasional adult beverage, and I'm not here to tell you that it's never a good idea, but what I can tell you is that it is definitely a stressor for your body, and it will deplete B vitamins. And right now, when people are under some stress with the current state of affairs and people with quarantining and staying at home more, I think many people are like, well, this justifies me having some alcohol. Maybe I should have some wine, or maybe I should fix a drink. You might really want to rethink that, because it's probably not the best thing in terms of enhanced immunity and being the best version of yourself. And then sugar is nobody's friend. At the end of the day, we know that in the United States, the average American consumes about 140 pounds of sugar a year. So it's like many people are kind of almost eating their weight in sugar. And sugar has all kinds of things to do that are detrimental when it comes to immune function. So we definitely do not want to be, consuming excess amounts of that. So when we talk about getting these essential nutrients, we have two options. We either can eat really healthy, or we can supplement, or we can do a little bit of both. If somebody, has a very high commitment to eating very healthy, then maybe they don't have to supplement as much. But Dr. Deidre Mason and I both agree that we want to meet people where they are, right? And so, especially as people are just committing to a healthy lifestyle, we might still want to be doing some supplementation, because the supplementation is what's going to get us where we want to be. We know that our food supply today is not what it was 15 years ago, and certainly not what it was 50 years ago. When I was a kid, all the food that I ate was basically organic. They weren't using pesticides, herbicides, growth hormones, et cetera, at that time. But now that's much more of a problem. So unless somebody eats organic, you know, and all the time, then, it makes sense for everybody to kind of supplement sensibly. So we know we need these essential vitamins and minerals. And we know that the nutritional status of Americans is highlighting the fact that we have this standard American, very sad diet, and that we definitely need to be able to supplement. Now, we know that certain phytonutrients are impractical to obtain from food. And, I'll talk a little bit about that when I talk about one of our products, which is called OPC3. Supplementation provides noticeable health improvements, whether it's more energy or joint comfort or improved skin health or better sleep or, more energy, or just, bringing, we want to all bring to each day the energy and vitality so that we can have the best day. And we know that supplementation does that, and we know that experts recommend it. Sometimes people will tell me, I don't think that supplementation is necessarily, a good idea. I don't think it's really critical. But I just always like to remind people that enriched and fortified foods are important to Americans because they contribute significantly to nutrient intake. So an example of that is, salt. Back in the 20s, they decided to start iodizing salt. And the reason that they did that was that people were getting goiters. And a goiter is like when your thyroid is like super enlarged and it's not working optimally. So, the government decided that the best way to handle that and to prevent goiters was just to add the iodine to the food supply. So fast forward to today, where a lot of people are eating like Celtic sea salt or pink Himalayan salt or whatever. If it's not coming from a source where it's naturally iodized, many of those, what we would call like health food salts don't contain iodine. And we actually have more of an incidence, sadly, of, subclinical or even clinical hypothyroidism than has been seen in the past. Another example of fortification is milk. Milk is, fortified with milk since around 1930. And they did it to avoid rickets, which was like when people had really weak bones and, bowed legs and everything. But, they continue to to fortify our milk, excuse me. And people will say to me, well, the cows don't make the vitamin D. No, the cows don't make the vitamin D, nor do they wear sunscreen. But the cows, they're not producing large amounts of vitamin D, so that gets added to the milk supply. So many people think, milk's a great source of vitamin D, but only because it's added, you guys. And so, one of my points when we talk about enrichment and fortification is that basically it is supplementation. It's just supplementation that's being done on our behalf by the government. And I'm not saying that's a bad idea. I just don't think everybody's well informed about that. Flour, they started enriching during the war. They enriched it with iron and also with B vitamins. But now you'll see that many people are avoiding eating, grains for a variety of reasons. A lot of people are gluten-free. I'm celiac, so I have to avoid flour. But, then I have to make a conscious effort to get those B vitamins in another way, because they're not coming to me as was envisioned, 60 years ago when they started doing the enrichment. So again, my message to everybody is that enrichment, which is misspelled there, plus fortification is supplementation. And so for that reason, we want to make people aware of it so that people understand. Sometimes people will say to me, Nancy, I don't believe in supplementation. And without meaning to sound rude or anything, I would just say, that's fine. It's not religion, it's science. And, we don't really have to believe in it for it to really make sense. We really just have to look at the facts. So there's a lot of nutritional experts who support the appropriate use of supplements. So whether it's the American Dietetic Association, they now have a position paper for many years, dietitians, I think, were the kind of the mantra was, you can get everything that you need from food. But for more than a decade now, they've been saying, well, you know what, we really do need to collect the data from people, from clients. We need to know what people are doing in terms of supplementation, because we know that the food supply is not really what it's, all cracked up to be. The dietary guidelines from the US Department of Agriculture and Health and Human Services also give specific guidelines, including a statement that says that, a multivitamin is a really good insurance policy. And that, I think, is very important for people to remember. The food pyramids that are put out by, prestigious organizations like Harvard and also Tufts, which those people who are knowledgeable about nutrition will know that, like, Tufts is one of the preeminent nutrition research groups. The one on the far right here in the lower corner is Harvard's food pyramid. And, they start with really daily exercise and weight control as the foundation for their food pyramid. Then they move up with some grains and healthy fats and work their way up, and they've got fruits and vegetables. And I'm sure all of you are looking over on the left there, because there's a teeny tiny wine glass there. And that wine glass, many people will say to me, so I'm really supposed to drink wine. Well, I think what they're saying there is that there are some phytonutrients that can be beneficial. It's not a requirement to drink wine, but it's not seen as necessarily a detriment. And then above that is a multivitamin for most. And they're, I don't think a lot of people would argue with the science behind the folks over at Harvard. And then we've got the Cleveland Clinic, and they actually have a really nice paper talking about multivitamins as an insurance against an imperfect diet. So here's the thing, if I were to stop the average person on the street and say, which is better, like chicken and broccoli or a banana split, I'm sure that all 500 people on this Zoom tonight would get the chicken and broccoli choice correct, that it's more healthful. The problem is not that we don't know what to eat. The problem is that sometimes we eat the banana split. And so, we want people to be aware of the fact that there are things they can do to offset those less than optimum choices. But we always want to be, educating people so that they understand that our health really starts with food first, and then supplement as, sensibly to, as an adjunct. The whole term supplement means an additional thing. It's not what we start with. It's something more. So my point is, based on my research, and I focused on absorption and bioavailability. So, I get to talk to you guys about it for a few minutes, but I literally spent, 10 or 15 years doing research on that. And so, I know that not all supplements are created equal. And you sort of have to find, I think, a high quality product line. There are many really good ingredients out there. It's really how it's delivered to you, though, as to how effective it's going to be. If you've ever been in the hospital and had an IV, then you know that they're getting that, what they need to right into your veins. And that's going to be a lot faster and more efficient than if you were relying on getting it by, chewing up a pill or a tablet and swallowing it. So, there are things that we want to consider. My opinion is that when we talk about scientifically based supplements, people have some misinformation, I would say, about, what is really reasonable with regard to supplementation, and is it overseen by the Food and Drug Administration? So I'd like to just address that briefly here. So GRAS stands for generally regarded as safe. And that's really, there's a pre-existing list of known things which are safe that can be included, that are high quality ingredients found in many, quality supplements. Now, people will say, well, FDA doesn't oversee the supplement industry. And I would take exception to that wording. FDA does not approve individual supplements like it does drugs, but it does regulate ingredients, and it regulates the final products under legislation called DSHEA. And you can read about that online. But suffice to say that if there's ever a problem with a known problem with a nutritional supplement, the FDA will become involved with that, and they will jump in and take care of, helping to offset any challenges that are faced with that. The other thing that's important about a supplement is that it's got to contain appropriate quantities of essential vitamins or minerals or whatever nutrient it is in every single dose. And I like to say that you have to consider the bioavailability, because it's what you absorb that matters, not what's on the label. So sometimes I get really frustrated because I'll look at supplements and they have like these proprietary blends, and they might have, I don't know, 1,200 milligrams of a proprietary blend. But when I look at the, and try to get the actual detailed information about the individual ingredients in that proprietary blend, a lot of times there's not enough to make a difference. But because it's on the label, they can say it contains X, Y, Z. So, some of the manufacturers are very clever with regard to their labeling, or not, I would say maybe not full transparency. And so, I mean, it's very important that we know that the amount that's there is going to be efficacious, because, at the end of the day, the most expensive supplement is the one that doesn't work. And it doesn't matter if you only paid $5 a bottle for it. If your body can't absorb it, or if it doesn't contain enough of a nutrient to really make a difference, then it's really was not a good value, right? It doesn't matter that you could get 20 bottles for $5, and you might feel like you got a deal, but if it doesn't work, then it's not worth it. So supplements are a little bit like, steaks or cheeseburgers. I think we can all agree that a burger from McDonald's might not be the same as a burger from like Ruth's Chris, if you could get a burger there. I mean, the bottom line is that not all supplements are created equal. And so we want to make sure that you're working with a reputable company with reputable ingredients and, outstanding delivery systems. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we call the isotonics advantage, because absorption does matter. So these are just x-rays that show like what happens with a pill or a tablet, when somebody ingests it, and maybe they don't break it down. So here's what happens. You swallow a pill or a tablet, and it like hangs out in your stomach for a while. And it basically waits for you to eat something, pretty much, so that then your body's going to release hydrochloric acid and be able to break it down. Your body then converts it into something that's called chyme. And it's just sort of like a nice mixture that has the same, what we call osmolality, or the same chemical makeup as your bodily fluids. When it's in that state, your body recognizes it as being pre-digested, and your stomach goes, hey, cool, great, thanks for sending me something that's already in a form I can use, opens up the pyloric valve and goes right into the small intestine to be absorbed. Pretty cool, really. And so that's what we would like to have happen all the time. Well, with a pill or a tablet, some of these things are going to make it all the way through the system and out the other end, so to speak, so in the stool, and they're going to still be intact. If the tablet or the capsule, or that is not broken down, then you're not necessarily absorbing the active ingredients, what we call the analytes, or the nutrients that are in those pills or tablets. So that's the problem for the pills or tablets. So Market America and Nutrimetrics, TLS, created an isotonics line. That's their brand name for an isotonic solution. And basically what happens is it's rapidly absorbed by the body. We provide stuff, it's in a form where you have a pretty high concentration, which creates what's called a gradient. And so through diffusion, you absorb more of it. So it's just a very efficient way for you to be able to absorb it. I love to remind people that what's not in an isotonic sometimes is just as important as what is in an isotonic. So there's no wheat, soy, yeast, gluten, artificial flavors, starch, salt, preservatives, or milk. And so, and that's really super important for people who have sensitivities, or people who are trying to, have a very clean diet. So I love the isotonics delivery system. It's such a far cry in terms of an improvement. If somebody ingests a pill or a tablet, it could take, 40 minutes to say 4 hours. And we have the potential to have rapid and more more complete absorption. Now, we can't say, that there's X% bioavailability, because, my ability to absorb nutrients might be different than Stephanie's or Corinne's, so we can't say that. But what we can say is that there's a higher probability, because things are presented in the most efficient way for your body to be able to utilize it. So I believe that supplementation can help fill in nutrient gaps. I love the little capsule there on the right with all the veggies in it. I think that would be amazing if it came like that. And I get questions about whole food supplements and are they better? And let me just say that there's no way really to pack it all in there, because if you were going to pack enough in there for it to make a difference, then you would just be eating the food. And you're not going to have like a whole head of cabbage. Most people won't sit down and do that. Or in using this picture as an example, you're not going to necessarily eat 8 tomatoes. So, I think that there's a definite role for high purity supplementation. And we've already said the less committed you are to eating healthy, the better you better be with your supplementation. We know that nutritional experts recommend supplements, and the key is just to find supplements with science-based ingredients. So I'm going to talk about 5 key products that I don't think you should leave home without. And we've dubbed it now the Basic 5. I had the good fortune to train with Dennis Franks last weekend. He and I did a product training in Maryland, had a lot of fun doing that. He's an amazing trainer. And we started with this, talking about the 5 key products, which are calcium, a multivitamin, OPC, which is a potent antioxidant and potent anti-inflammatory, also great for immune modulation, activated B complex, and then omega-3s. And I'm going to just briefly go through these because we just have 1 hour tonight, you guys. Maybe another time we'll come back together for a 3-hour product training, who knows? But tonight we're just going to lay a foundation so that I can then move into talking about things you can do to improve immunity, because I know that's something that's on everyone's mind right now. So that daily essentials, which is the 4 isotonics products, the multi-calcium B complex and OPC, that can come either as a regimen in 90 serving bottles, or you can buy it in the convenient packets. And I just put the label for the packets on here so that people could get an idea of the levels. Why did I do that? Because I think people they think about them as separate products, but this is like a really amazing sort of baseline nutritional regimen that I think everybody should consider and start with. So often people don't get excited about a multivitamin because they're like, oh, I don't know if I'll feel the difference. Here's the thing, you might not feel the difference right away, but you will feel the difference over time. And we know, the data show that we're not getting everything we need from our diet. So we just can't afford to ignore it. We have to lay that foundation. And here we're combining the multivitamin with other things that we really need, an antioxidant, calcium, which I showed you the NHANES data showing how poorly we do with that, and then the OPC. Now, when we were talking earlier, we talked a little bit about, magnesium is a challenge for people too. So we've got, magnesium here at 31% of the daily value. You might expect that vitamin C is going to be important. Vitamin C is present at 298% of the daily value. That's great for immunity as well. Another thing that's really good for immunity is zinc. And so, zinc levels here are 7.5 milligrams, half of the daily value. Now, some people might say to me, well, then should I be taking double doses of the daily essentials? There's really no evidence that there's an advantage to that, but I'm going to talk about some other products that when combined with the daily essentials are going to more than meet your needs and set you up, to really enhance your probability of success with a nutritional foundation. So we've got Isotonics multivitamin. So a multivitamin, as we said, is like a great insurance policy to help ensure that you're going to have, what you need in your system. Multivitamins and minerals, they really serve as like little cofactors. Think of your body as sort of like a little place where a lot of chemistry experiments go on. All of those chemistry experiments are really biological, experiments. They require little cofactors to make things work. It might be that you need chromium or you need copper or zinc or selenium. So the multivitamin is going to provide that. As a general rule, there's no benefit to taking more than a single dose of multivitamin. There is a position paper out there that was written that said that adults over 60 could take 2 doses of multi, but that's primarily due to the fact that they have decreased what amount of something called intrinsic factor, which is your body's cofactor for being able to absorb B vitamins, B12 specifically. With the enhanced absorption and bioavailability, with the isotonic delivery system, that potential, it's really not necessary to take more than a single dose of multivitamin. The key to success with a multi is taking it every single day. This is not something that, nurses or doctors would say to take PRN, which is just as needed. The multivitamin is available both with and without iron. So, if you're of childbearing age, you might need iron. If you're anemic and you're older, you would need iron. Otherwise, you probably won't need iron. But that's, it's nice to know that we have that option. And the multi with iron contains a form of iron that is not upsetting to your stomach, and it's not constipating, and it's not like drinking cod liver oil from your grandmother. So we have really good compliance with it because it doesn't upset people's systems. I've only talked about just our basic isotonics multivitamin, but we have different things that people use as a multivitamin. We have an amazing women's health formula, which is part of our isotonics essentials. We have an anti-aging. We have a 50 plus. We have a separate prenatal, of course. And then we have our DNA Miracles and DNA Miracles Plus. Suffice to say that the DNA Miracles Plus is one of Dr. D's and my favorite multivitamins, because it really is for people that maybe need a little extra metabolic support. And just because it's part of the DNA line does not mean it's not suitable for adults. So the directions are on the label. You know, if you're whatever, 12 or older, you can definitely still take that product. The next product that's part of the regimen is the Isotonics Calcium Plus. And I think everybody knows that calcium is important for strong, teeth and healthy gums and strong bones. But it's also good for maintaining healthy blood sugar levels. And that's going to give you better energy, a focus, attention, and it's going to also enhance your immune function. Calcium is good for cardiovascular health and also for a healthy body weight. It's good for nerve conduction, muscle performance. It helps to ease the discomfort of PMS, helps with hormone secretion. So overall, it's an excellent, product, and it's something that you want to have on board. Now, the thing about calcium that's important to know is that you can only absorb about 375 to 400 milligrams per day, at a time. So you would want to take it in divided doses. The Isotonics calcium provides 375 milligrams per dose. So we pretty much agree that 2 doses plus whatever you're eating in your healthy diet should be adequate for you to be able to hit the targets. You can see they're listing targets here of 1,000 milligrams per day. And it's important to know that calcium, our calcium has with it not only calcium, but it's got vitamin D, it's got magnesium, and it's got vitamin K2. And that's really what's important to make sure that we're going to get, great response and good absorption for building those strong bones. The next product is the activated B complex. And, I love these infographics, you guys, that I'm showing on the right-hand side of the slides, because I feel like it just is such an easy way to have a conversation with somebody regarding, a particular product that might be useful. This particular infographic isn't product specific, it's just B vitamin specific. So it's a great conversation starter, and it's highlighting more than what, everybody may know in terms of good health. So you see at the lower right corner, it says immune system supporter. Wow, that's really important right now, right? Because we know that people's immunity is what's going to determine their health status when we have something like what we're facing right now. So at the end of the day, it's not just for health, it's not just for eye health, it's not just for weight loss, it's not just for heart health, it's not just for being able to manage stress, it's really important for immune function. And so one of the things we know is that some people don't do this little chemistry experiment that's required for them to be able to utilize B vitamins. It's called methylation. And I'm sure everybody on this Zoom tonight is a huge fan of chemistry, just like I am. Probably not. But anyway, at the end of the day, methylation is when your body has to add a carbon and 3 hydrogens to be able to use the B vitamins. So one of the best things that the company did with our activated B complex was to utilize a methylated form of it. So we have methylated folic acid and methylcobalamin, which is B12. So the methylated folic acid is called quadrafolic, and then the methylated B12 is called methylcobalamin. I did about 3 years of research on methylcobalamin, when I was working at USDA. The next product is our OPC3. It's 125 milligrams of each of those 5 different bioflavonoids. And the infographic I'm showing you here on the right is just for one of those ingredients, which is the pycnogenol. But we know that there's an advantage in terms of immune support for the pycnogenol. And we know that it's great for respiratory health as well. The last of the 5 basic foundational things is the omega-3s. And so the omega-3s are responsible for everything from heart health to reducing inflammation, which is a key thing for when people are not feeling well, to eye lubrication, tear production, low light visual acuity. It's got a whole lot of benefits. Helps with weight loss. It's one of those healthy oils. So omegas are really a good thing, and most people don't get enough of it. When we did the training last week, I was highlighting that if you were going for, 3,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA, you'd have to eat like 4 cans of tuna every day. You'd have to eat an 8-ounce serving of salmon every day, which sounds delicious, but might be cost prohibitive. So, it's really important, and it's one of the things that just makes sense to supplement. So I'm going to move into talking in themes now, because I know a lot of people joined this Zoom because they were hoping I would talk about, what's going on in the world today and what can we do to protect ourselves. So, what I've talked about up till now is really all about laying a foundation, right? It's eating healthfully, it's eating in a way to stabilize blood sugar and avoiding excess sugar. And it's laying a foundation with the the antioxidant, the calcium, the B complex, and the omegas. But when we talk about immune support, nutritional experts highlight the value of a variety of different things. So they talk about vitamin D, they talk about beta glucans, which can oftentimes be found in yeast. They talk about zinc and vitamin C, which I mentioned when I went through the label for the daily essentials. They talk about bromelain, which is, a systemic enzyme, which means it works all over the body. It's not just, in the stomach. And it's a protease that helps to break down. It comes from the pineapple, and it's sort of responsible for systemic cleanup, which is good. Proanthocyanidins, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the role that they play in immune support. Curcumin, aloe, and then also probiotics. And then I'll close out this section by talking about some stuff that's in the research today that might be an interesting thing for you all to keep your eyes on moving forward, because nutrition in the news is something that we all want to be aware of. So in 2009, NIH reported that low levels of vitamin D are associated with frequent colds and flu. We also know that 2017 clinical trials showed supplementation with vitamin D reduced respiratory infections by 42%. And then finally, they found throughout these studies that daily supplementation or weekly supplementation worked best. That is to say, taking a megadose of like 50,000 IUs of vitamin D once a month is not very effective. So this is really a good reminder. Remember, 95% of people didn't hit that EAR for vitamin D. And the EAR is the estimated adequate requirement. Even if you hit it, you only have a 50-50 chance that it's enough. So for that reason, it just seems like it would be a very logical thing for everybody to consider supplementing with vitamin D. And certainly the good news is that many physicians are testing vitamin D levels now. So you'll have the chance to know if your levels are low. The isotonics vitamin D, on the right, I've got a screen capture of the health benefits that are listed directly on the website. One single dose provides 5,000 international units or 125 micrograms. What I love about the isotonics is that the dose can be adjusted. So one of those little white bottle caps that's on the isotonic, that, the inside bottle cap, not this big overcap thing, but the inside white bottle cap is about 1 teaspoon. So that's one of those will give you 5,000 IUs. But if you wanted to have 2,500 IUs, you would just take a half a teaspoon. If you wanted to have 1,250 IUs, you can take a quarter teaspoon and just adjust the liquid accordingly. So when we do a normal dose, it's 2 ounces of water. Half a teaspoon will be 1 ounce of water. Quarter teaspoon would be half an ounce of water. We know that it's important that it contains K2, which is what helps to support the delivery of vitamin D into the bones, and it also supports arterial health and avoids plaque buildup. So the vitamin D, again, it's an allowable health claim that it supports immune health. The next product that I love is our Isotonics Immune. And I have to say that I know that some of these products are on back order right now. So please don't ask me questions about that, because I don't have every date written down. But just please know that the team there at Market America, Dr. D and the research team and the supplies, the warehouse folks, they do their very best to have everything in stock for us as quickly as possible. So Wellmune, which is they refer to as WGP, has been clinically shown to promote a healthy immune system. It boosts immune cells without overstimulating the immune system, which is important, and it promotes healthy energy levels and vitality. So as you go through here, you can look at this. It says, according to the CDC, as much as 90% of all illness can be linked to problems with immune function, so brought on by outside stressors. So this can help to combat that. I'd invite everybody to get a copy of the infographic, but they talk about the ability to reduce infections, respiratory infections over 20% with the use of the Wellmune, which is the key active ingredient in our immune. So again, I think that's an amazing product. And I think it's one of the products that you really just want to take it all the time during this kind of time of year. And certainly right now, I think it's a huge advantage. What's in it, in addition to the Wellmune, which is a baker's yeast beta-glucan, and beta-glucans are known to have advantages in terms of helping to improve immunity and to kill off infection. Wellmune, it says, is the hero ingredient given its deep portfolio of peer-reviewed published human clinical research demonstrating efficacy for everyday immune support and upper respiratory health. We also mentioned earlier that vitamin C and also zinc are important. So now if we add the vitamin C from the immune to the amount of vitamin C that was in the daily essentials, we're now at 239 milligrams. The daily value is only 60, so that's great. And experts who've done vitamin C research for years feel that you can go even higher with your levels of vitamin C. And then if we add this zinc here at 7.5 milligrams to what's in the daily essentials, a single dose, that'll take it to 15 milligrams. So again, it will exceed the daily value. So this is an amazing product, and I know that many of you are probably already using this product. Beta-glucans can also be found in like shiitake mushrooms and also cereal grains. So that can be another natural source in just being added to your diet. The next thing I wanted to talk about was isotonics vitamin C. And again, one of the claims for it is, allowable claims is it supports a healthy immune system. It's a potent antioxidant, you guys, and it helps with everything from muscular health to heart health to skin health to bones. It also helps to maintain healthy cholesterol levels. And I think a lot of times we don't talk about that. So I think vitamin C in some ways might be a bit of an unsung hero. Vitamin C, when it's combined with the OPC3, when you combine antioxidants, you get what's called a synergistic effect. So it lasts even longer than either by itself. It has all to do with donating electrons. And those two particular compounds are very synergistic. They share with each other. We also have the vitamin C and D3 chews. So I think a lot of people, are not necessarily familiar with these. They might think it's just a kid's product, but they're very popular in our household. They recommend that it's for kids 4 and above, and all of us, I'm sure, are kids at heart. So again, we can get 120 milligrams of vitamin C in the chew and 600 international units of the vitamin D3 in a chew. So that's a great thing to have, especially if you're on the go. Bromelain is the next product that I'd like to talk about. And bromelain is, as I mentioned earlier, it's a proteolytic enzyme. It's an enzyme that breaks down proteins. And that's what's found on the outside of many viruses. So, and it prevents the virus from attacking the ACE2 receptors. It provides antioxidant protection. And some cells hide from the immune system using that protein shield, but bromelain will just go right in there and chew it up, literally, and break it down. So it's a proteolytic enzyme that's really promoting the removal of cellular debris as well. And it also supports immunity. And so again, I encourage everybody to get copies of the different infographics so that you have these, so that you can have a conversation with people. This is just a screenshot directly off the website talking about the bromelain, and you can see it supports a healthy immune system. It's right here, all spelled out. Our bromelain also has white willow bark extract with it, as well as protease, which is just the enzyme to help break down protein in addition to what comes from the bromelain itself. White willow bark, for those of you that don't know, it's 15% salicin. So that's kind of the nature's form of aspirin. So like we work with pain management specialists, and the isotonics bromelain is a great product. Many people enjoy it also like post-surgery because it really aids with healing. We're back to one of my favorite products, the OPC3. And I didn't explain this, but when I worked at USDA, we did a database of foods highlighting the OPC content. And the reason we did it is that those plant compounds are naturally anti-carcinogenic. They're naturally anti-atherogenic, so they avoid plaque buildup and heart disease. And they're naturally anti-inflammatory. And we don't have time tonight for me to go into all the research related to OPC3, but suffice to say that the company's done clinical trials with this. We have the good fortune of having direct, comparison of, a pill or tablet versus the isotonic, showing the more rapid and more complete absorption, and also showing a 52% reduction in something called C-reactive protein, which is a marker for inflammation. And it's just an amazing product. And it sometimes when I talk about it, I feel almost like, I don't know, like it helps with so many different things that it just seems almost a little overwhelming, I think, for people. They're like, what do you mean that it's good for everything from menstrual cramps to seeing better when in low light visual acuity? It helps with blood vessel dilation. It's going to help with, platelet activity. It helps with sperm quality. It's going to help with healthy erections. It's going to help with, immune health, really all of that. It helps. It's a natural coxin LOX inhibitor. Yes, it does a whole lot of different things. And I think it's just an amazing product that people should take advantage of. And we have it in different forms, which is good. So in addition to just the regular isotonics OPC, we do have a kids version in our DNA line. We also have the skin health formula, which is pretty amazing. And then we've also got the OPC chews. And what's really important to know is that those OPC chews have the same 5 active ingredients in it as does the regular isotonics OPC in the exact same amount. Now, sometimes people will say to me, but Nancy, isn't the isotonic better? Don't you think that, you should always take the isotonic and not have to chew? And I don't feel that way, you guys. I think, we work with a lot of kids like on the spectrum, and, OPCs pass the blood-brain barrier. It helps people with immunity. It helps them with attention and focus. It helps with everything. It's a natural vasodilator, so it helps with supporting normal blood pressure. It helps with so many things that even if it's not, maybe there's 2% more absorption or 4 or 5. I don't know how much better the isotonic is, but the company wouldn't have made a chew if it wasn't really still very, very good. And so I love the fact that you can have that on the go and not have to pull out your, shaker cup or a bottle of water and mix it up. So I'm a big fan of the regular isotonics, OPCs in the morning, and then, the chews if I'm on the go or throughout the day, and not, it's just for the convenience factor. The next thing I wanted to talk about is aloe, and we have an amazing aloe which is certified by the International Aloe Council, and that's why it's got this little seal, like good housekeeping seal of approval. It's also like 150%. It's not exactly like 150 proof alcohol, but it does mean that it's more concentrated, so the active ingredients in it are present at a higher level. It's a whole leaf aloe, and many people may not know, but aloe is a natural antifungal, antiviral, and antibacterial. So it's been used for literally hundreds of years. And our aloe comes either in the bottles or else in like those stick packs that you mix with water. Comes in different flavors shown there at the bottom. Not really a personal fan of the natural aloe. My friend Corinne left a bottle here, and I tried to give it to Dennis, and he's not as much of a fan of the natural aloe either. But strawberry kiwi is awesome. I particularly like the pomegranate myself. But the point is that aloe is great. And so if you're drinking the pre-mixed aloe, that's 2 ounces. You can have it even 2 or 3 times in a day. If you make up the stick pack, you're going to add 4 ounces of cold water to that, and you can just sip on that, throughout the day. But again, here's a screenshot showing you right off of the website the fact that aloe supports not only a healthy digestive tract and better nutrient absorption, but it supports a strong immune system. So it's, it's one of the highest quality products out there, forms of aloe that are available on the market. And it uses, the purest ingredients. So again, it's a gluten-free, no GMO vegan product, as are many of our products. And you can look that up, online. The NutriClean probiotics. Oh my, these probiotics use special technology called LiveBac and BioTract technology. And, in simple terms, I just say to people, it means that the probiotics don't really need to be refrigerated. And they're set up to help ensure that the bugs are going to make it to the right part of your gut to enhance the population of the good bugs. There's 10 billion, what they call colony forming units. which is a large count, and there's 10 different strains, which is just, I mean, it's amazing. So you can read all the different strains that are listed there on the left. Look over on the right, though, where the red circle is, and you're going to see it promotes a strong immune system and a normal immune response. So, these probiotics, are very, very potent and powerful. And I think a lot of people may not realize that, most of our immunity actually lies in our gut. And so the reason that it's important to support your gut and your digestion is that's where your nutrient absorption is, and that's where much of your immune function originates. Somebody's drawing on my screen again. And then we've got lifestyle support. So we've got low glycemic impact eating. So my suggestion is that people learn more about our TLS system if you don't already do that. And we're doing TLS trainings now. I have one coming up online in a week or so, so watch for that if you're in my area. But low glycemic eating is eating to stabilize your blood sugar. And it has all kinds of advantages in terms of energy, in terms of focus, in terms of staying out of fat storage mode. And it's also going to be much better for immunity because sugar reduces your immune function. So even though when we're, going to be, stuck at home, you might be like, oh, I just want to eat whatever, Girl Scout cookies or something. No, step away from the Girl Scout cookies because the sugar is not your friend and it's going to lower your immunity. The very thing that you're working to preserve by following the guidelines that are being presented, you can undo. And so you don't want to do that. We want to avoid the sugar. We want to make sure we're getting good sleep, you guys, because sleep, we need 7 or more hours for good cytokine production, and that's what's going to help to keep us healthy. That's also when all your hormones are repaired is when you're sleeping. And it's not just enough to get, X number of hours of sleep. It's high quality sleep. It's whatever, getting into REM sleep and making sure that it's really restorative. You're going to want to follow the guidelines for hydration. So, for most people, that's going to be 8-ounce glasses of water. And then exercise, moderate exercise actually increases circulation. And that also supports good immunity. And so that's something that we definitely want to stick with. So I'm going to, finish up here just talking a little bit about curcumin in the news, you guys, because I think that, it's important to realize that every single day new stuff is coming out. You can see that this particular article, it's what we call a preprint. And so in the scientific world, when we publish something, it goes to a peer-reviewed journal. That means that people that are your peers as researchers get to evaluate it. And then they're going to make suggestions, comments, and then you have the chance to respond or you make improvements in it. And sometimes it can take, 6 months to 2 years to get a paper published. This is a preprint, so this is something that's being done, and it says that it's not peer-reviewed. You can see that at the top here. But they're just putting out what they've learned because they know that people are eager for the information. And what they're looking at in this particular case is COVID-19, the potential for inhibition of it using several different medicinal plant compounds and using something that's called a molecular docking study. So the bottom line is that dimethoxycurcumin or curcumin, which is the form that we have it in, the dimethoxy, is being treated. And it says here, that these things appear to have the best potential to act as COVID-19 inhibitors. And then I'm quick to tell you guys, however, further research is necessary to investigate their potential medicinal use. So this is how, the research starts. They start with an idea, they test it on a small population. They do it typically using what we call in vitro versus in vivo testing. So first they test it in the laboratory, and then eventually it will get tested on animals and or people. But I thought it was interesting to see that this was something that's in the news, so to speak, today. So when we talk about, what we need to do to stay healthy, you guys, stress is going to play a big role in this. I've spent a lot of time talking about improved immune function, but at the end of the day, stress is not your friend. And we know that when there is a stressor, like, a pandemic, we'll use as the example, that we have a reaction to the stress. Don't let anybody tell you how you feel is not warranted. Don't let somebody say, oh, you shouldn't be stressed about that. That's just a silly thing to say to somebody because how we feel is how we feel. And everybody's feelings are justifiable. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. there's a lot of, uh, like concern. There's a lot of unknowns. All of those things lead to stress, but stress leads to wear and tear on your body and organ systems. And then that can reduce your optimum health. So, like, all of you guys are to be congratulated because you took an hour on a Tuesday night to get online to learn a little bit more about what you could do to be able to support your optimal health. We know that, when your health is compromised, then we're more susceptible to the stress. So we have to do everything in our power, including, managing our stress to try to ensure that we can maintain good health. So the adaptogens that we find in TLS, Axe, and Bliss, things like holy basil, things like Siberian ginseng, things like, the other adaptogens that are present there, like ashwagandha, those things are all your friend. And it doesn't matter, honestly, whether you use the TLS Axe or the Bliss. The Axe, in my opinion, is just a tiny bit more comprehensive, and I love it because it's part of our TLS line. And a lot of people have challenges with weight related to their stress. So when you use these products, so you always want to combine it with the activated B complex because they really work hand in hand. So don't think that you can just take, the Axe or Bliss and not use the B complex with it. It's very, very important. Another thing that's great for stress, honestly, is the Thimonol. And the Thimonol is that amazing capsule technology where the outside is the black cumin seed oil and the inside is the pycnogenol, which is the water soluble part. And, it's great for respiratory health. And that Thymoquin is a standardized extract. So you're going to see, many more research, publications utilizing this combination of ingredients in the future. And then sleep is super important. I know I've talked to several of my own clients and they have, challenges. They're having trouble getting to sleep. They're worried about what's going on. They're laying there and, thinking about everything they need to do. And, and there's no question that we can be affected by, stress when it comes to sleep. My kind of sequence of events that I like to follow in terms of supplementation is I love for people just to start with magnesium. I showed you with the NHANES data that about 55% of people don't get enough in their diet. So we need calcium for muscle to contract and magnesium for it to relax. So we want to make sure that people supplement with magnesium. That's just a great place to start. If that doesn't work by itself, and there's magnesium in our calcium, or you can use the isotonic magnesium. Then I move to Turn Down, which contains the L-tryptophan. If that's not working, then I'm going to move to our Prime Dreams, which actually contains melatonin. And another really great option for many people is going to be the cannabiquin. And the cannabiquin is definitely good because, when it's not just, CBDs or, there's CBGs, there's other cannabinoids, excuse me. And those other cannabinoids help with things like sleep and digestion and other things. So you're getting a comprehensive one when you use a full spectrum hemp product. So we're just about to 10 o'clock. So it went pretty good on the timing tonight, which is great. So I'm gonna suggest that people follow national and local health guidelines because it's very important that you understand that everything's being done for a reason. Many of you may have seen the graph on the bottom where they're talking about the pink peak versus the gray peak. The pink peak is what's expected in terms of the number of cases of COVID-19 if people didn't follow the guidelines and if people were not willing to do the social distancing, the frequent hand washing, the self-imposed or staying at home, the quarantine. Other things you can do are the low glycemic impact food choices, avoiding the sugar, getting adequate sleep, getting good hydration, supplementing sensibly. We went through a lot of different products tonight. Don't make yourself crazy thinking that you need every single one of those. Many of you are already using the daily essentials and the omegas. So maybe you're just going to add one thing or two things. And maybe if those things are not available right this moment, but people are following all these good practices, it's not that it's going to be problematic. It's just great for you to be aware of and also to be able to share information. And these things are going to come back in stock. And it's always good during cold and flu season to focus on our immunity. Anyway, on this graph, they call it flattening the graph. So if in fact people don't follow the guidelines, then we get a big pink peak. And that means that the healthcare system is going to be overburdened. And that's not in anybody's best interest. We need to make sure that the healthcare workers and the healthcare system are there to support people. We're doing something called flattening the graph, where we're slowing down the spread of the virus by following the good recommendations that are being put out by the government. And again, I'm no expert on it. We need to trust the experts. You've got people at USDA who are reassuring you that the food supply is safe. They have not aware of any illness being transmitted by food or packaging, which is great. The World Health Organization is putting out daily suggestions, as is the Center for Disease Control. And Dr. Anthony Fauci from NIH is an expert on viruses and infectious diseases, and certainly can be trusted, and is one of the, the people that I look to for gaining additional information. So I appreciate you all joining us tonight. I hope that you will all be well, and may you be happy, may you be loved, and may you be at peace. We will get through all of this, and we have amazing tools and supplements, and most importantly, we have each other and also education to help us. So I appreciate the invitation to speak tonight. I don't think we're really going to have time for questions. You guys, I'm going to leave that to Stephanie if you want to take 1 minute or 1 or 2 questions. That's up to you, Steph.
Yep. Dr. Ihli, so there are about 3 or 4 questions. Do you think you may take a few, maybe 2-3 minutes to answer them? If I read it
sure.
Up? Great. So I think that
you can turn off the recording if you're recording this, please.
Okay. Yes. So, Dr.
I can stop.